Yo, yo, hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to the Cars episode of Trippin with Theobold. I'm your host, Andre Theobold. Welcome to the show. Glad you guys could tune in. We're going to go down memory lane, talk about all the cars I've owned and the current car that I own. Before we go any further, make sure you guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, tell a friend, and do all that fun internet stuff like the old people say. So, yeah, AT is where it's at on most forms of social media. So make sure you follow me. Let's go and get into it, man, because this is gonna be a fun episode. All my episodes are fun. All of them are fun, you know. But in this episode, we're gonna go down memory lane and talk about cars that I have owned. So let's get into it, man. Uh just gonna pull it up, man. So here we go. First car I ever owned was an 89 Geo Metro four-door hatchback. Right? This is like the best image I could find of my car that I had. Now, I didn't drive it in 89. Like, I'm not that old. I know y'all might think I'm old, but I'm not that old. Um, but this was like what my car looked like exactly. I wish I took more photos of my car. Um, Real weird, man. So basically what happened was my mom knew that. So I didn't realize this, but I've been driving since I was 16 years old. So damn, I've been driving for almost 30 years. Shit, that's crazy. Um, but nah, I remember my mom bought this car um like right before I started high school. And I didn't know why she bought it. I thought she just wanted like another car around, but she saw this car. I think she got it for like $200. Either 200 or $400. I think but it was like she got it for like dirt cheap. Um, so technically I never owned it. It wasn't in my name, but for all intents and purposes, this was my car. Like nobody wanted to drive this car. I was the only one that drove it. Um, so I remember like and I didn't even realize this, but I used to go to so my high school and my middle school were like right next to each other. I went to Sligo Elementary School, and then I went to Tacoma Academy, which was right next to it. And I didn't realize this, but I was driving myself to school like ever since like my freshman year. Like my freshman year is when I started driving myself to school. Was it? No, I take it back. It wasn't because I started high school 96, 97, 98, 99. I started high school in 96. Um I remember I got my license or I got my learner's permit on my 16th birthday. So no, my first year of school I was getting dropped off. So my freshman year of school I was getting dropped off. Then that November of 96, right? 96, 97, 98, 99. Um yeah, November of 97 is when I started driving myself to school, right? So like for like pretty much most of my sophomore year all the way through my senior year, I was driving myself to school. I lived like maybe like 15, maybe like 10 miles away, 10 to 15 miles away from my school. I went to private school. Um, you know, yeah. But nah, my Geo Metro, man, my 89 Geo Metro four-door hatchback. Um, like my car could not that car could not get that car cannot do 60 miles per hour no matter how much maintenance you did, no matter how much you aligned the tires and balanced out the car and the vehicle and all that stuff. That car never could see 60 miles per hour, right? So if I went somewhere, this is before smartphones, so I had to map quest everything, right? I had to print out the map quest and then bring back the map quest with the coffee stains. Like my mom, we had like a folder in the computer room. You know, if you had to go somewhere, you had to check to make sure that the directions already existed. So We used to have like, our routine places that we would go and they would have coffee stains on them and stuff. They'd be wrinkled up, but you had to bring it back. Like once you came back, you had to put it back in the folder. That was our GPS, MapQuest. Anyways, lot of fun stories with this car, man. Like cars are interesting because you build up memories and you have stories that are attached to the car, and that's what I want to do with this episode. Is I want to basically just rehash and relive certain memorable experiences with the cars that I've had, so um I remember when my dad taught me how to drive in this car. My dad, we were over at Savage Mill. My mom came out, and my dad. I think my mom. I think I think she even has it on camera because my mom wanted to record things with the camcorder. You know, um, man, something's in my eye. I don't know what's in my eye. Um, anyways, I remember my dad. He was teaching me how to drive. We went out to Savage Mill, and it's basically this park with basketball hoops, and it's like a park. And there was this hill, right? There's a steep hill, um, and my dad was teaching me how to like drive and how to turn and stuff. And when I was driving, you know, uh, I got the like when I first started driving, I got the brake pedal and the gas pedal mixed up. So I remember I thought I was braking and I slammed on the accelerator, and man, this car almost went over that hill. It was a steep hill. And if we went over that hill, that thing would have flipped over and we probably, I don't know, the car would have been done. But my dad just reached over and pulled up the emergency brake, and he was like, yes, okay, Dre, that's enough for today, and that, and that was like my first time driving that car. Um, and then when I took driving school, I had when I took driving class or driving school, I had this one instructor. His name was Tex. It was this old white dude that would just chain smoke, and he was like, I think he was a bounty hunter or some shit, and he used to be like, I think he served in Vietnam. But he was crazy, man. But he had like a car that we learned in, and he had like a brake pedal on his car. Like he had a brake pedal, like he had pedals on his side of the car to help me teach me how to drive. But I didn't even learn how to drive in this car. Like I learned how to drive in a training car or the car that they had in driving school. And yeah, anyways, yeah, Texas that's a whole nother episode, man. Man, let me just go ahead and talk about it, man. Uh I remember like I was paranoid when I first started driving. I was paranoid to drive on the highway because the cars were just going so fast. Like I could drive on the streets and drive in parking lots fine. But I remember Tex was like giving me directions on where to go. And we were down like kind of like around my dad's office area, um, over there in Laurel. And he said, okay, make this left. Okay, get on this ramp. And I'm like, huh? So I'm just following instructions and we're driving and I'm like, oh shit, I'm on the highway, and I'm sitting there holding the wheel. I wish we had video camera footage of that, man, because I'm sitting there like shook. And Tex, the first thing he said to me was like, he's like, man, loosen up, man. He's like, shit, man, you act like you getting pussy for the first time. Come on, man. He said, man, relax. And he was just like real tense. So I'm sitting there just, oh shit. Cause when you get on that ramp, nigga, that shit's scary because cars are moving. And that's when you learn how you build up your speed and then you merge in with the traffic or whatever. Anyways, I never learned how to drive with this Geo Metro, you know? So I remember I took this car in the day before Thanksgiving. I took it in the day before Thanksgiving to go do my driving test. And I failed at the end because I my tire was touching the line for the stop sign, right? Like they had at the very end, you have to pull up at a stop sign and they ask you, are you done? Are you done? And then they knew if they ask you twice, man, like you did something wrong. And I'm like, man, what did I do wrong, man? Shit, like, I'm like, yeah, I checked everything. I looked in my mirrors, my seatbelt is on. So I'm like, yeah, I'm done. And he opened up his car and looked out, or he opened up the door and looked out and went like this. He said your tires are touching paint, failed the exam, please put it in park, get on the driver's side, get on the passenger side, and I'm gonna drive you back to like the school or whatever. So I thought I was gonna have my car before Thanksgiving break. I had to wait until after Thanksgiving, and then not only that, um, what happened was my windshield on this Geo Metro had a crack in the windshield. So they were like, "Yo, you can't bring this car back. You got to get another. You got to get it fixed before you bring it back, or you just got to do it in like another car." So I borrowed Trevor's car, my dad's friend, and after the break, I used his car and passed the test, and I was good. So then I was driving. I was like, I'm a grown man driving, 16 years old, driving to school. Driving everywhere. I remember, man, I was just so happy I was so happy just to drive. I would just get in and just drive. Going to the movies or going to the store was like, that shit was like going to an amusement park, man. It was like, yeah, I'm going to the store, man. Yeah, like going. So, anyways, uh, yeah. So, um, car had fogging issues, man. Like whenever it rained or the temperature was messed up, the fog in the car, man, like the foggers didn't really work that well. So my car was always like real foggy. I looked like it looked like a planetarium, or not a planetarium. It looked like a what do you call it? One of those aquatic houses, or one of those like, plant houses. Um, it looked like a nursery. Like, like you ever go to, if you went to like a nursery, you see all that steam on the windows, like you could never look in. That was like what my car looked like in the at nighttime when the temperature changed and stuff. But man, I got lots of stories, man. I'm not gonna try to spend too much time on this because I got a lot of cars to go through. I'm on my fifth car in life. I'm on my fifth car. So this is car number one. Um, can't believe I'm admitting this. Man. So so back during my time when I had this car, America Online was like the thing. You know what I'm saying? And I was all up in them chat rooms, man. AOL chat rooms, the ASL. A lot of people know what ASL. ASL means age, sex, location, right? So basically, you put your age, your gender, and your location on where you at. And you go into these chat rooms and you just be talking to people and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I remember I met a few chicks on this joint. You know what I'm saying? Um, and it was scary, man, because because you had no picture, no nothing, right? So um, I remember like I met a couple of big Johns, like they were big. You know what I'm saying? Like they be in their ASL and they be like, "Oh yeah, I'm 5'1", 5'2". I'm red bone. I'm like 120 pounds, thick in the right places. They say all that whack shit. Um, I remember one joint we met like everywhere we met like in public. Like I always like was like, yo, we gotta meet in public because I don't know you like that. So one joint I met, we met like at this school, at this high school or whatever. And she was like a bigger joint. She was big. She was nice, but she was big. And then she got in the joint, you know what I'm saying? And then she was talking, and then I was just all I could think about, I was like, yeah, nah, I'm trying to end this conversation like respectfully. I'm not trying to be no asshole. But nah, she not what she told me what she looked like. You know what I mean? Uh so she kind of got the gist in the conversation, and she was like, yeah, so you want to meet up again or you're not interested? And I just shook my head, and she was like, oh, okay, nice to meet you. I said, nice to meet you too. That was it, right? I met this one big John, man. She was horrible, man. She was terrible, man. Um, and this was all like in the metro and shit, you know what I'm saying? In the Geo Metro. Man, I met this one John, man. She lived in Colombia, and she said she was like 5'2", like 120, thick in the right places, red bone chick. And then we chit chatted on the phone for a minute, and then she was like, "Yo, let's meet up at Columbia Mall." I'm like, "Cool, bet, let's meet up." So we agreed to meet up in front of Sam Goody. good old Sam Goody Records in Columbia Mall. And I remember as I was walking to the mall, because the Sam Goody was like on the upper level. And I remember going upstairs to the upper level, and there was this huge, this big joint just right by the, like right on the banister, right on the rail in front of Sam Goody. I was like, man, this better not be her, man. I'm like, shit, man, this better not be her. This joint is huge, man. She at least like two. Look, nothing wrong with being big, but she told me she was like 120. She was more like 250. You know what I mean? Um, and anyways, I walk into the store and I'm like fake looking for CDs and shit, fake looking for music, and I'm fake looking for music in the joint, and I'm like, okay, if she didn't come into the store by now, then either that big girl was her, and or it was some weirdo or whatever, and now I gotta watch my back, right? So I walk out the store, I walk out to Sam Goody, I make a like I beeline to the right. Like I'm like, let me just not make eye contact with this big joint, and let me just make this right. So I bust this right, man. Came out the store, came out to Sam Goody, and as soon as I stepped out the store and made that pivot to go right, she was like, nigga, that's you. I know who you are. Come here. I was like, she was like, don't act like you don't see me. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, it is this big bitch. God damn. Fuck. I'm like, hey, how you doing? And she was like, come down. And she was like just real bossy. Like she was like her voice matched her voice on the phone, but she was just real bossy, man. Just real like she was a bitch. You know what I mean? So she's like, come downstairs and come hang with my friends. I was like, all right. So I go downstairs with her friends and they're just kind of sitting around and they're talking about something, but they're not really including me in the conversation. So I'm like, hey, it was nice meeting you, but I gotta go, and I just left. I kept it respectful, you know what I'm saying? Like I wasn't gonna like clown the chick or make her feel bad. I was just like, hey, look, I gotta go bye. She was like, you don't gotta go nowhere. Where you gotta be? I'm like, I gotta go. And I just left. So that was that joint. Then and this is all like I said, I had the Geo Metro back then. I drove to Columbia Mall, whatever, right? Then third joint I met, this was a crazy story, man. Like what happened was I what happened, man? I met this chick in the chat room. She said that her folks were from Barbados, and her name was Ann, right? She said her folks were from Barbados, and I was like, yo, I've been to Barbados a few times myself, so we had that in common. She was like, yeah, I'm 5'1", like 110 pounds, light skin, like whoop de whoop. And she was like, yeah, I think she said she went to Gaithersburg High School, you know, and we chit chatted on the phone like for like over a year, you know. Um, Not like a lot, but it was like just we just like we transitioned from AOL chat room to phone, and we would just chit chat on the phone or whatever, right? And my car couldn't go that far, right? My car couldn't go. My car, like if I took my car to Gaithersburg, it was gonna overheat and break down. So I was like, look, I can't go to Gaithersburg, man. I was like, yo, the Geo Metro can't make it that far. You know what I mean? Um, so I was like, yeah, nah. I just got a phone buddy. You know what I mean? So that's how I looked at it. I just got a phone buddy. And you know, one year, her school was playing a school in my area, right? Like her school was playing a school in my area. Um, and it was like right around the corner from my school. So she was like, yo, we've been talking on the phone long enough. I think it's time we meet up. I'm like, all right, bet. So I'm like, look, I go to private school. I'm probably gonna be wearing like my uniform, my school uniform or whatever it is. Um, I'm probably gonna be wearing that. You know, I'm gonna stick out like a sore thumb so you'll see me, And we agreed, and she agreed. Basically, we agreed. She was like, look, let's meet up like around the 20-yard line of this football game on the home team side. I'm like, I bet. So I get out of school, I get out of class, then to this game. I drive to this school for this game, and I'm seeing all these different classmates that I'm seeing all these people that go to this school that I went to camp with. We went to camp or whatever together, and I'm like it's like a mini reunion. I'm like, oh snap, I know so and so. I know, oh man, I remember you from camp. Yo, what's going on? So I go to the game and I'm sitting around the 20-yard line, and I'm sitting there. Drove in the Geo Metro because because the school wasn't too far from my school. So I just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna take my car and I'm just gonna drive. When I'm coming home, on the way home, I'm gonna stop by this game. So I stopped by the game. On the 20-yard line, like on the home team side, and I'm sitting there for the whole first quarter. Whole first quarter goes by, and nothing. Like chick don't show up, nothing. So I'm like getting nervous, like yo, and it's like a lot of people at this game. I'm like, yo, this person probably saw me. This could be some honey trap shit. Let me make sure, at least I make sure I know who I was talking to, and making sure that I'm not being set up for nothing. So I finally, like, second quarter goes by, nothing. So I'm getting like a little nervous. I'm like, okay, maybe she couldn't make the game. Maybe something couldn't happen. I'm like, you know what? Let me go to the other side of the field just to make sure. So I go to the other side of the field, and I'm at the 20-yard line. There was like way more people on the home team side than the visitor side. So I go to the visitor side where there's less people around the 20-yard line, and I'm up in the bleachers or whatever. And I'm the only one there in like my school uniform. Um, so there's a girl in front of me, kind of cute, but she's like in front of me, and she keep looking back at me. So I'm like, hey, are you so and so? And she was like, nah, but I'll be right back. And she's like giggling. So she goes and comes back like 3 or 4 minutes later, and it seems like 12 to 15 of these girls, bad girls, they attractive. They all come up, like it's like 12 to 15 of them, and they just laughing at me in my face, yo. Like you remember the Charlie Brown? Remember like when Charlie Brown brought back that tree, and they're all like laughing at Charlie Brown for bringing back that tree? That's what they were doing, yo. Like they were laughing and like pointing at me, like in front of everybody, yo. So I felt embarrassed, man. So I was holding back tears. I was laughing with them, you know. And then when I got done, or when they got done or whatever, I finally went down. And then, you know, the girl that fit the description of who I was talking to on the phone for so long, um, I talked to her, or like I went up to the one that fit that description, and I was like, hey, are you so and so? And she was like, yeah. I'm like, hey, is it cool if I still call you or what? And then she was like, nah, don't ever call my phone again. Just send me an email or something. So I was like, damn, you know? So yeah, and Annie was a bitch, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, fuck her. But yeah, I remember like that Geo Metro, like I said, it brings back memories of just those kind of situations or whatever, you know? So after that, man, I cut the AOL shit out, man. That shit was like that shit was whack, you know? And truth be told, I'm actually like, like the way I moved about it, I was smart. Like I was like, yo, go somewhere public, and make sure that you confirm that you meet someone that knows that meet someone that you actually spoke to on the phone, and make sure you use certain language to make sure that they know that that's who you were talking to, right? Anywho, um, what else, man? Man, lots of memories with this first car, man. I remember at our school in high school, um, like I went to a small private school, and it was real small. Maybe I want to say maybe 400 people, if that. It was a small school. Um, and um there was like every year there was like different, like you had like your top notch girl in each like grade, right? Like you had your freshmen, your sophomores, your seniors and juniors, right? So I remember one story in particular with this one chick named Shannon Melbourne, man. Shannon was like bad. Like everyone in our school agreed that Shannon was like probably cream of the crop. You know what I'm saying? She was like, tough. Um just to kind of put things into perspective, she kind of resembled or favored a she was like a red bone Topanga from Boy Meets World, right? So a lot of people that watch Boy Meets World, Topanga was tough, Anyway, Shannon was like she knew she was attractive, she knew she was bad. Um, but I never really had any conversation with her like that. And to make matters worse, I think she was a grade or two under me. I think she was either one or two, like she was like an underclassman. So after school one day, um, I think she knew, I forgot how she found out that I lived in Laurel, but she lived in Columbia, which is like right next to Laurel. And she needed a ride home, you know? So she came to me and gave me them Bambi eyes, man. And I thought that was it, man. I thought that was it. I thought I finally struck gold, man. I was like, yeah, but no. She came up to me with that Bambi eye bullshit, man. She came up to me with that, she was like, hey, she was like, she was like, hey, would you mind giving me a ride home? I was like, okay, okay. And and it's weird because I gave her a ride home in this Geo Metro or whatever. And it was weird because we didn't we didn't have no conversation on nothing. It was just a long 25 minute of just quietness. And I remember I dropped her off to where she lived at, and then she got out. And I don't even think I don't remember her saying thank you. So I'm not gonna say she didn't, but I was thinking like, this was it, and it was nothing. It was just I just gave her a ride home. I should have asked for like $5 in gas money or something, but that was when I was, you know, that was when I was beginning my super simp phase, like I didn't get the game, but it is what it is. We live and we learn and we move on. Um, what other stories, man? Last story about the Metro, man. I got two more quick stories about the Metro. Uh, my, I remember I used to drive to Greenbelt Station. If you know Greenbelt Station, it's over kind of like in like Beltsville area almost. It's in Greenbelt, Maryland, but it's right next to Beltsville. Um, and there's a metro station there. And there's this long walk you got to get to even get to the parking lot. And then there's a long L. So just imagine a long ass L to get to this like train stop, right? It's a long walk. And I remember it was a hot day that day. It was like 113 degrees. And um I saw this girl. She was like my age or older, and I saw her walking like at the top of the L to walk to the train stop or whatever. So I'm thinking to myself, I'm just being a gentleman. I'm like, yo, I'm trying to like, I don't want to see anybody walking out in this heat. So I was like, like the Geo Metro didn't have automatic windows, man. So you had to put some elbow grease into rolling the window down. I remember I pulled up and rolled my window down, and I was like, hey, you need a ride down to the station? I'm going this way. This bitch took off running in 113-degree heat. Like she was moving. And I'm like, man, I hope she don't have a heat stroke and pass out, man. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I drove past her, looked at her, and I was like, okay, well, that's her fault, whatever. So that was another funny little dumb story. Um, and then my dad, man, me and my dad got into an argument one time, like a big, like it was like a shouting match because I didn't want to carry a cell phone around, right? Like back in the day, we didn't have smartphones, right? We had, you know, I didn't even have a StarTech. Like this was like a pre-StarTech phone, right? It was just a brick that I carried around that I had to keep charging up. And I just didn't like having a phone back then when I was in high school. I just didn't really see the need for it. But anyways, man, what happened, man? Uh oh shit. Oh, don't want to do that. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to make sure that I don't get interrupted when I'm talking in my phone. 'Cause I forgot I got my car pictures up right here. I don't want to be interrupted while this happens. I forgot my phone is connected to this. I don't want to. You guys get the point. Anyways, um, yeah, me and my dad got in an argument, right? Because I didn't want to carry my cell phone on me, and it was like I think it was a summer day. It was like school just let out, and I remember I was going to the movies. So when I was driving to the movies, the fan belt broke on my Geo Metro. So I missed the movie, everything, and my car broke down. So I had to get a tow. I think I paid like $100 to get my car towed. And then when I got it towed, I got it towed to a parking lot or whatever. Um, and then no, I got it partially towed to a parking lot, and then I used a quarter to call my dad at on the house phone, or I used the quarter to call. I used the payphone to call my folks to let them know that my car broke down. You know, and I let them know that I got it towed. You know, and I have to pay this amount. I was like, where can I get it towed to get it fixed or whatever? So my dad came to pick me up, and then we came back to the house, and he was just like, I remember him just like shouting at me. He's like, where's your fucking phone? How come you just didn't you call us on the phone? You could have called the phone, and didn't have to pay $100 to get your car towed. And I was being dumb back then. I just didn't see the value in it at that point. So like I remember, I'm like, I don't want to carry this thing around. I don't like it's like it never is fully charged up anyway. And then we got into this big beef, and then I was like, okay, cool. Let me humble myself and just carry this phone around. So if I do get in trouble, I can like call for help or whatever, you know. And then Shade, man, we had this guy that worked over in DC. It's called Gemini Auto Service. My man Shade, Shade used to work on our cars or whatever. Um, so I used to hate taking my everything. Shade was dope. Shade was cool because he always fixed my car, but I would hate bringing my car in because I had to fight traffic going to DC, and then when I fought traffic going into DC, by the time I got there, they had other cars that were on the lift, you know, so I had to wait for them to get to my car and then to actually fix my car. And then sometimes they didn't have the parts. They had to call for parts and call. And then sometimes I had to like leave my car there, and then I would have to get a ride, or my dad would have to come pick me up, you know, and it was a pain in the ass. So every time my car did something, it was just one of those things where every week my dad would always just ask, like I just had a habit. He'd be like, "G, did you take your car to Shade?" I'm like, nah, I'm not trying to go to Shade, Dad. My car's good, man. Nah, I'm good. Like I was fighting trying to go to Shades, man. You know, like anytime my car made a weird noise, or just if he didn't ask about my car, he'd be like, "G, did you take your car to Shade?" I'm like, shit, I gotta take my car to Shade, man. Fuck, I don't want to go to Shade, man. Damn. So, anyways, thing I miss about this car the most is everything was fixable, man. It was like a lawnmower. That was the beauty of this car, man. It was like a lawnmower, you know. I remember one day my radiator went bad on this car, and we found a radiator. They ordered a radiator online or whatever, and it was light. It wasn't like anything hard. But I took it to Shade, man, and he just popped the shit out and put the joint in, man. I could have did that shit myself, you know. So I'm like, oh wow, like the filters, everything. You could get to everything easily, you know. It didn't it didn't like go it wasn't a reliable car like for going for like long distances, or you couldn't go over a certain speed, but man, that shit was reliable. It was a good runaround car, man. Like if I had this car when I was in Iowa, man, I could have saved a lot of money, man. You know, like this car was a good little get around car, but it's not a highway car. But man, I missed this car. You know, this was my first car that I had. Now we're on to the second car. Second car I own, man, aka the spaceship, right? This was the second car I owned. I owned a 98 Buick Riviera. So my folks didn't let me bring my Geo Metro to college. So I didn't have a car on college campus, you know, which was a smart move. Like you don't need a car on a college campus. You just don't need that. It's just a distraction, you know, because now you can go more places and get into more trouble. I was stuck on campus, stuck with my studies, stuck with my books. Best decision I made or that they made was for me to not have a car on campus. Um, but man, in in March or April of 2004, damn, almost 20 years ago, this is where I met my first girlfriend, Kim. Uh, I remember it was me, Marquette. It was me, Marquette, and oh man, what's the other guy? Oh man, me, Marquette, and why can't I think of this other dude's name? Wow, man, I can see his face, but I can't think of his name, man. Damn. It'll come back to me. Um, wow, if he sees this video, he's gonna be pissed because I should know his name, man. He's all these guys from DC, you know. Um, oh, was it Ricardo? Was it Ricardo? Shit, I feel man. Man. I think it was Ricardo. I think it was Ricardo. Shit, hey Ricardo, man. Sorry if I missed your name, but I know you. I know you, man. So don't be offended by this, man. It's been a long time. It's been a minute. So it was March. It was like late March, early April. It was like Easter weekendish kind of. And me, Marquette, um, oh man, I think it was Ricardo. Shit, I it's Ricardo for the sake of the story, right? It was me, Marquette, and Ricardo. They were underclassmen. At the time, I was a senior. I was a super senior, fifth year. You know, they were like probably in their junior year, I think it was. I think they were in their junior year. Um, and you know, they knew I was struggling getting girls or whatever and stuff. You know what I'm saying? So they were like, "Yo, so Marquette, he's like a fashion designer now." And I saw him at this comedy taping like years ago, which is crazy. But we used to call Marquette Hobo Shop because I think his uncle or one of his family members like was like the founder of like Hobo. If you don't think about Hobo, Hobo stands for helping our brothers out. It's a DC clothing line, you know. And Marquette always wore like hobo gear. Like he always had on hobo stuff, man. So Marquette, like he looked is Marquette, like he kind of looked like an owl, you know, like he just looked like an owl. Like he was it's like his he had big eyes, but his eyes were like always kind of like half shut, always looked relaxed. Um, like he looked like he basically appeared or acted older than what he was, you know. But it was Marquette, and Ricardo, and they were like, "Yo, Dre, man, we gonna change things up, man. We gonna go to a lot of people think. I remember the speech, man. The speech was funny. The speech was, "Hey, Dre, man, it's what we gonna do, man. You know, a lot of people think that you gotta spend a lot of money to get clothes and on fashion. You don't go do all that, man. We gonna go to Kohl's, you know. We gonna go to Kohl's, and we gonna go to the clearance rack, and we gonna get you a sweater. Boom, you already got a pair of jeans. We gonna get you some halfway decent shoes, get you some diesels. AK, like those were like bowling shoes or whatever back then, or they call them bowling shoes. But we gonna get you there, like, yo, we gonna get you a pair of diesels. We gonna get you a haircut, and we gonna go to this party over on UPenn, right? So we went to so we got picked out an outfit and everything, you know. Then we went over to UPenn's campus to this party, and I remember I used to like strike out. I used to like really just try away. I'm doing a whole nother episode on this, so you know. But I used to strike out really bad with chicks, man. Like I just didn't get it, you know. 80-20 rule, you know. Uh, anyways, I'm at this party at UPenn's campus, and then you know, back then you just try to dance with whoever you can dance with, and then afterwards you ask for their number, and then they say nah, they say nah. So afterwards, I remember I danced with this one girl. She's real short. She's attractive, you know, like my complexion. And I asked her for her number, and then she took my phone and put her number in my phone. And Marquette and Ricardo was like, "Oh, shit, Dre got a number, man. Shit, yeah, Dre got a number. Okay, Dre." So me and my paranoid ass. I remember I got the number, I got the phone, and I looked at the number, and I'm counting the digits. You know what I'm saying? Because I had females pull some shit on me back in the day, man. They would give me fax numbers. They would only put in like 7 digits, and I'm thinking I got the number, but it's like, nah, they gave me 7 digits on purpose. 7 digits, including part of the area code. You know what I mean? So I remember I would try to work out combinations. I remember I went to one party on UPenn campus, and I got this chick number, and I was so happy, man. I forgot to count the digits. And I get home, and I'm like, yeah, I can't wait, man. I called her up, and I got that. Woo, woo, woo. We're sorry, but the number you're trying to reach is not in service, or please make sure that you've dialed the complete number. So I went back and counted the numbers. The bitch gave me 6 digits. I was like, God damn. So I remember I sat up that night and I tried to work out all the combinations in a notebook of the numbers it could be. Oh man, hard times. Anyways, I got Kim number, and Marquette and Ricardo, um, they were like sites for me. They were happy for me, and they were like, "Yeah, it's what we gonna do, Dre. So here's I'm a coach on what to do, right?" They said, "Look, man." Marquette was like, "Look, wait about 2 weeks. You know what I'm saying? If she don't call you, call her in 2 weeks. Say what's up." Like he had this whole game plan, but then she ended up calling me, and then she called me like the next day or whatever. So I was like, "Oh wow." So Marquette was like, "Hey man, yeah, she into you, man. Just hey man, just be cool, be smooth with everything." And I don't have a car on campus at this point in time. I still got the Geo Metro at home back in Maryland. So the first date we go to Universal Circus. That was the first date when I was Universal Circus. And then we just kept going on dates. And then I finally graduated. And then when I graduated, um, I was like, yo, I'm thinking, okay, if I'm gonna make this work, I gotta get the train up. She gotta get the train down, right? So then now came the need for a new car because the Geo Metro wasn't gonna make it all the way to Philly. So um man, so um I kind of had a conversation with my mom and dad about getting a new car. Then my dad was like, yeah, he's gonna take me to a dealer auction to um go and look at different cars. I liked, I don't know what it was, but I liked those big body cars. Like this is a bubble car. This car was big as shit. Like it's long, but it was a sedan because it only had 2 doors, and that door was long as shit. But I don't know what it was, but like I like those kind of cars, man. Like I like the Crown Vics and the Mark IVs. Like those were the kind of cars that I liked. So the first car I was gonna get a Mark IV, but we were at this other dealership or this auction, and we ain't had no money for the car at the time. So then I remember we went to another auction, and my dad knew a guy that they like bartered with. He bartered with, and the guy was like, "Yeah, I'll take y'all up to this dealer auction. Just come up, just go there and like point out the car that you want, and I'll get it, and I'll make sure that you have an opportunity to buy it, so you don't have to buy it on the spot." So man, we go to like I forgot where it was, but it was far. It was far from my house. And then I see this car come, like I see it come off of the ramp, and I'm like, ooh. I'm like, "Dad, I want that. That's the car I want." So he's like, "You want that?" I'm like, "Yeah." Like that shit is wet. Like wet means like dope back in the day. Anyways, so the dude basically buys the car. I think he spent like 2,000 on it or some shit like that. I think he bought that car for like $2,000. And at a dealer auction, you can't test drive it or nothing. All you can do is listen to the engine. And if you're a mechanic or if you know about cars, you know what you're listening for. So he listened to it and was like, "Yeah, this is good." You know. And then I remember um my dad didn't have the cash, so he had to go to my mom. And my mom was like, I remember she got kind of like she was like kind of like upset. Like she was kind of like stressed out, Like my dad was like, he went in the room, was like, yo, G, he found a car, The guy said he will give it to us for $2,000, but I don't have the cash on me right now. Give me the $2,000. He said, I'll pay you back. My mom was like, she was mad. She went out and then counted out $2,000, gave it to my pop, you know. And then the guy said that, he could have sold the car for like 10,000, but he said that since him and my dad do business, he'll give it to us for two, so, or give it to what he bid on it. So man, got this car, man. And then we had to, I think part of the deal was we also gave him the Geo Metro. So we drove up, did the exchange. I remember we were over on I want to say it was like on Minnesota Ave in DC somewhere where I had to go drop off this Geo Metro, and then the Buick Riviera was right there. And man, I took it home, man. I was like, yo, this joint drive nice, man. And man, that Riviera, man, and it had the supercharger in it, man. That was the thing, man. It had the supercharger in it. And basically what it does is it basically makes the engine more efficient. So since it was I think that was a V8, like it was like that was a huge engine in that car. So to help save on the gas and to help make it more fuel efficient, like you basically there's a supercharger in there that basically I'm not going to get into how superchargers work. All I know is that it makes your car like more fuel efficient. But man, that car would float, man. Like that shit could get up from like 0 to like 80 like real quick. And once you're moving, that shit would just float. Now, part of it was the suspension, I think, was kind of going bad, but that shit would just float, man. I love that car, man. So I would drive to Philly. So I would drive that car up to Philly to go see my girl, and then she would take the train down to come see me or whatever. But anyways, I didn't know I was moving to Iowa. So, I moved to Iowa in like 2006 for my job, and I had to get my car shipped out there. So I shipped the Riviera out there, and man, everything was good. Um, but I remember like the car started like I started taking that car to the dealership every week because there was like a Buick dealership that was kind of close by, and I would take that car to the dealership every time something went wrong with it. And I took it there so much that the guy that worked there that saw me bring my car up, it was this older white dude, man. He would be like, I remember one time I brought it up. He just got mad every time I brought it. And he was like, look, son, look, you can't keep bringing this car here. Your car is done. Okay, this is the last time that this is it. We're gonna fix it, but this is it. So I was like, shit, I gotta start looking for a new car. Shit, you know. Um, and I remember like one of the last. So I remember when the alternator went out, they fixed my alternator and shit. The one thing I remember though, man, was my supercharger went bad. Right, my supercharger went bad. Like I love this car so much, man. I remember the supercharger went bad, and I went online and I found a refurbished supercharger for my make and model of my car, and I ordered it. I think I spent like $500 for it, and that motherfucker was heavy, man. It came in this box. That shit was heavy, and I was trying to put it in myself, but you can't put it in yourself, man, because you gotta lift up the whole engine. And before I took the car to Iowa, I had a guy. It was a friend of my dad's that looked at the car, and he basically was like showing me like, yo, if you ever have to lift up this engine, there's this whole arm bar you have to get off, and then you got to have a fucking engine lift to lift the engine up or whatever, right? So anyways, supercharger went bad. I thought I could just put it on and get the belts for it and then thread it, but nah, I had to go to a mom and pop shop. They charged me like 1,000, I think, for it or whatever. They put it back in. Supercharger is working fine. It didn't work like as good as the old one, but it was good enough, right? It kind of held me over. Um, but now I had to look for a new car, man. Had to give it up, you know. Uh, man, so uh, I started looking around, and I For some reason, I just fell in love with the 2011 Chevy Malibu, right? So I'm at my job and I just have I have my eye set on this car right here. I don't know what it was about this car, but I'm like, yo, I'm getting this joint, man. So didn't do no research. I just knew I wanted this Chevy Malibu. So I'm working at my company at the time, and we had this principal engineer. His name is Craig. At the time, he was like in his 50s, maybe like late 50s, early 60s. And Craig was cool, man. You know, Craig was he was a principal engineer. I was more of a junior level engineer. So I worked on stuff with him, but he was the one that kind of set the parameters and provided guidance to like the more junior level engineers such as myself at the time. So I remember I go to Craig's office and I'm like, yo, man, I'm looking at getting a new car. He was like, for real? He's like, man, what kind of car you gonna get? I was like, man, I'm getting this 2011 Chevy Malibu. He said, sorry to hear that. I was like, what, are you joking? He's like, nah. He said, you'll see. So he called up John. John was our like our he was our, what do you call it? He was our project engineer. So John was probably like early 50s maybe at the time, you know. And John comes in the office and Craig was like, Tell John what kind of car you gonna get. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting a 2011 Chevy Malibu. And John just shook his head. John was like, he said, don't do it. He said, don't do it, man. He said, all Chevys are pieces of shit. Don't do it, you know? So I was like, they joking. I said, they just had bad experience. He's like, no. He said, I have a Chevy Silverado that I cannot get rid of. He said he had to change the radio on that shit 3 times. So I was like, I'm like, it's just bad luck. Blew it over. And I went ahead and I got the Chevy Malibu anyway, right? Matter of fact, I said, shit, let me I said I don't want to get this um I said, matter of fact, I said I don't even want to get the 4 cylinder. I want to get the six. I want to get the V6, and I want to get the leather seats. I want the good shit. Let me get. I was like, yo, give me the LTZ. All right, that's what I got. I got the LTZ model of that shit. And man, right when I drove that shit off the lot, man, probably like within the first like 4 days, the TPS sensor on that shit went bad, and my shit kept like throttling down. So I had to take it in under warranty. They fixed my TPS sensor. You know, I was good. Then, man, I replaced that radio like 4 times, man. That shit was terrible, yo. Like my shit looked like the Matrix. Like it just kept like everything kept disintegrating. Like all the little pixels and shit. It was just I had to keep replacing my radio. But because it was under warranty, I'm like, I'm cool. So when I was in Iowa, man, I had 2 cars. I had my Riviera and I had my Malibu, right? So my Riviera was like a beater at that time, and I left that outside, and then my Malibu stayed in my garage, right? So I would drive the Riviera to work, and then I would drive the Malibu after work and on the weekend, you know. Uh, so um, back to my Riviera right quick, man. My Riviera, man. I remember I left it outside and like I didn't like I remember like I remember there was a time I didn't drive it for a minute and the bees or the hornets or the wasps or whatever built like a nest inside of my shit. Like they built it underneath like the front left tire well or whatever. And I remember like I had to like do some like brake work on my car. So I couldn't get to it in the summertime because the bees were just all around that shit. You know what I'm saying? And they were even coming through like the fan vents or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I got to take care of these bees first. So man, I remember I went out there at midnight. I'm looking like the beekeeper and shit. I'm out there at midnight with this like stuff to kill the wasp nest or whatever. And I just spray it down. Like I knock it out and then I get the bees away from the shit and I'm good. But then my calipers and my brake discs were like getting rusted, so I had to replace my calipers on my on my rear calipers on my car. Get a sip of this water right quick. So man, the calipers, that took a lot of work to get those on and to get those back on. But the hardest part was bleeding the brakes. Like you got to bleed the brakes once you put your calipers back on. And I tried using this little piece of shit one man. I tried using this little cheap bleak braking system, and you can't bleed your brakes by yourself. Maybe you can now, but back then it was like, yeah, nah, that ain't being done. So I had to get my car to the shop, which was like maybe like less than a mile away. But I didn't want to pay for a tow. So I'm driving this shit and my car can barely stop. Like as I'm driving, it's like like I needed like a good 30 seconds for me to like if I put my foot on the brake pedal, I needed about a good 30 seconds for my car to like come to a complete stop. So I'm like rolling, I'm like driving real gingerly to the shop. I take it down to the shop, they bleed my brakes, I'm good. Long story short, I leave Iowa. I shipped this car back home to Maryland because my mom paid for it. And I was like, well, technically it's her car, so I just shipped it back home. And I wanted that to be my car for when I come home, I can go home and I have a car to get around in. That was the plan. But the thing that sucks is when you go like state to state, right? The regulations for like having a car being fit for the road is different. So in Iowa, they don't really have any restrictions. But when I brought the car back to Maryland, there was like they wanted like almost $1,000 worth of work done. That wasn't even engine or drivability stuff. It was like you gotta like your left window doesn't work. You gotta get the window fixed, and then this lock on this door didn't work, and then the knob on the switch didn't work for your headlights. All these different things, man. Um, and that's the other thing too, right? Like Buicks to me, like are just like they're pretty cars, but you can't get to like you can't do basic shit. Like with my Geo Metro, it was easy to change headlights out, but in the Buick, man, you got to damn near take the whole car apart to change a light bulb, right? So, um, long story short, had to get the car up. Um, when we gave it away, I was like, damn, a lot of good memories, a lot of good um road trips in the joint. This was the car I remember now. Let me say this one story and I'm gonna move on. But this was the car where me and my first girlfriend got into a fight on a trip in Virginia. So we drove to Virginia for like a for it was in the summertime. It was like a trip. We went to King's Dominion, then we went to Busch Gardens, and then we came back and went to the Spy Museum to go look at to go hang out at the Spy Museum area. So I remember we drove to King's Dominion and she brought me a pair of shades. And I remember we get to King's Dominion and I put the shades in the in the shade compartment. And she was like, "No, take your shades and wear them in the park." I'm like, "No, I don't want to lose them. Like these are good. Like I want to wear these when I drive so the sun doesn't get in my face." And then we got in this big argument. She's like, "Wear the shades. I don't see why you don't want to wear your shades." I'm like, "Look, I don't want to wear my shades, so they're staying here, right?" Then she left her flip flops in the front in the passenger side, right? And people that know me know I'm real funny about leaving things in my car visible, right? Like I have my windows tinted, but I still make sure that things are put in the trunk because I don't want someone to come smashing my windows to get something stupid. So, anyways, I took her flip flops and I went to put them in the trunk, and then she just blew up. "Don't put my flip flops in the trunk." And it was just this huge fight, man. And we got over that, then went to the park, had a good time. But you know, yeah, but that was something I remember about that car. Like that was getting to my first argument with my first girlfriend in that car. So, anywho, kind of long winded, but we're gonna keep pushing through. We talked about the Chevy, we talked about the Malibu. Um, Real quick, Chevy Malibu, man. Worst car I ever bought. Never buying American cars or Chevys again because of it. And it wasn't so much because of the car and the design, it was because of how their customer service was, man. Right? It was because of the customer service. Your customer service is everything, man. Like when I moved to California, I had this car shipped from Iowa to California. And I remember I was like, I would get my oil changes and stuff, and I was still under warranty. But my car made it 60 miles outside of its warranty, and the fuel pump went bad. So when I got a quote from the dealership, how much it would cost to fix outside of warranty, they were talking like, it was gonna be more than $2,000. And thing that sucked, man, was my car. Uh, it must have knew. It must have been plugged up to. It must have been plugged up to my, or it must have had an inside track on my pay schedule because it was 4th of July weekend. 4th of July weekend, man, and I get my first bonus at my new job, and it was for the exact amount of $2,000. So I had to take my whole $2,000, go to a mom and pop shop, and I had to have them fix my fuel pump. So the guy at the mom and pop shop was like, "Yo, man," he's like, "Yo, if I were you, I would go back to the dealership and I would ask them if there's anything they can do for you because you're only 60 miles outside of your warranty. You know, they should be able to do something for you." So I'm like, "All right." So I call around and they give me the run around and they give me all these different codes and talk to this person, talk to that person. I'm on the phone for 2 hours getting the runaround about, what they can do for me. Finally, I get to the last guy, and the guy was like, "Yeah, nah, who told you that? Yeah, we can't do nothing for you." Right. And then the guy that I went to get my maintenance done on this car, I was like, "Yo, do you know anyone that is in Chevy that can help me out? Like, its car is only 60 miles outside of warranty." This motherfucker looked me in my face and like kind of like laughed almost and like kind of he's like an older guy. He was like, "Nope, sorry, that's what it is. You got to pay it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I said, "Okay." So I went ahead, man. Took my whole like I basically lost my whole weekend. It was a 4th of July weekend, so it was a 3-day weekend. Lost that weekend. Lost my $2,000 for or my bonus. Had to put it on, get my car fixed. The moment I got that car back, man, I drove that bitch right to CarMax, man. This is why to this day I do not shop at CarMax. I do not recommend. I'm not trying to put a bad name on CarMax, but I'm just telling you based off of my experience, yo. I'm like, yeah, nah, yeah. I took my car straight to CarMax, man. Straight to CarMax. And I gave him the bullshit. I pulled up in the parking lot. Then the customer rep came out and was like, "Hey, he was like, hey, so what can we do for you today?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm looking at selling my car." "Wow, this is a nice car. It's like almost brand new. Like, what's going on?" I'm like, "Yeah, I gave him the bullshit." I was like, "Yeah, man, uh, my car." I said the warranty. No, I didn't say. I said, what did I say? I can't keep my story straight. I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for something more fuel efficient. It's too much car for me right now. It's just me. It's a 4-door sedan. I'm looking to I'm looking to downsize a little bit. So he was like, "Yeah." He was like, "If you want, we can show you cars on our lot." I said, "Nah, I'm not interested in seeing any cars on your lot. I'm good." Because really, I already did my research and I already went to different companies at this point. So I was buying like I just went straight to the Asian car companies, man, because that's what I was told. And they were like, "Look, if you want something reliable, you gotta get you an Asian car. Them cars just work." So I did my research. Went to Honda, went to Kia, I went to Hyundai, I went to Toyota, did my research, test drove different things. Um, and then I wasn't upside down on my loan with this Chevy Malibu, so they ended up cutting me a check for like $7,000. So I took that and I was going to use that as a down payment on my next car. And down payments on cars suck, man, because they apply the shit after they apply the tax, which is the whole, like, I wanted to get that principle. Like, I want to apply that shit, but that's not how this shit works. You got to apply it to after get, they, after they get, after they get what they want, or after they, um, get their value, then you can then take off at the end. But by then it's too late because you done paid like 10% or whatever the tax is for that state. So, anyways, man, um, uh, when I test drove the Toyota Camry hybrid, man, it just, that car spoke to me, man. This is the car I got. I got my Toyota Camry hybrid. Uh, that was like, it looks exactly like that. Like that car spoke to me, man. You know, like, um, because when I had my Chevy Malibu, my car kept breaking down. And whenever my car stopped, I would have like a panic attack, man. Like, oh shit, my car is like, shutting down on me and shit, you know. But when you get a hybrid, it's like when it switches over from the electric motor to the battery, or when it switches to using the battery, it kind of cuts off. But it's a good feeling knowing that your car is supposed to do that. So um, I remember when I got in that car, that car spoke to me and was like, yeah, this is it. So I got it. Um, then I got the check from the other people, put the down payment on this, and then this car, it was 60, it was 60 months, 0% interest. You know what I'm saying? So I paid that shit off quick, fast, in a hurry. You know, it was a 5 year, 0% interest loan. I got that shit knocked out in like 3.5 years. So from like 2018, 19ish up until like 2023, which was last year, I had no car payments, man, and it was a good feeling. My whole thing was my whole plan was to ride this car down to the ground. Like um, I was trying to have this car see 500,000 miles, yo. Like I wanted to see how long I could keep this car, but that wasn't in the cards. So I went out to an open mic one night, and I did an episode on this. I went out to an open mic last year, or December of 23, right? I went out to an open mic, came back, my shit was smashed up. Someone ran into my shit, totaled it, you know, um, and that was the end of that car. So I had to look for another car. And the guy that hit me, I called his insurance. His insurance, like he wasn't keeping up with his insurance. Long story short, he wasn't, like, his insurance wouldn't cover my shit because his coverage, like the way they worded it, they tried to sound, they tried to say things from a legal perspective, and it sounded all fancy. But long story short, he wasn't keeping up with his insurance. So um, I was out of luck when it came to that car. So I was stressing. I didn't know how much my insurance was gonna pay me out. So um, and then they didn't even make that make and model of my car anymore. So I'm like, I'm not gonna get cut a check just to take out a loan to get some shit that I don't want to get. Like, that's not fair. You know what I'm saying? So the way things worked out is they paid, like, my insurance paid me out like pretty well. So I was like, oh, okay, what are my options here? You know, what are my options, right? Like, as an engineer, I look at things from a functionality and a use case perspective. You know, like when I got my Toyota Camry hybrid, before I got this car, before I started even to look at getting going the Asian car route, I had my heart set on a um a Dodge Challenger. Like, I just wanted a Dodge Challenger, man. But I looked at the width of the car. It was a pretty wide car. It probably wouldn't fit in my garage, and it was a muscle car, so it wasn't fuel efficient. And I lived in Orange County at the time, so I'm like, yo, going to LA from Orange County in a muscle car is not the smart move. So I was like, I need something that's fuel efficient. Got the Toyota Camry hybrid. I got like 500 miles per full tank with that car. But anyways, like I was saying before, functionality to me, I look at cars based off of functionality. So to me, the first thing is reliability. Like I want something that's reliable, that can get me to point A to point B without any kind of hassle, right? Um, then after after that, it's security, right? Because someone smashed up my car. I wanted to know what happened. Like I had no footage of what happened to my car. So I wanted a car with a camera system that could record what goes on around my car when it's at rest and not driving, right? So that's one thing. And then three, I hate doing like routine maintenance, man. Like routine maintenance, I get that you got to do routine maintenance, but a lot of these car companies, man, they like to rip people off, man. Like what they'll do is it's like going to the dentist, like no matter how well you floss or no matter how well you keep up with your shit, when you bring it in, you always didn't do something or something else that went wrong, right? Something else went wrong. So every time I took my car in to get my inspection done or whatever, or to do my routine maintenance, these motherfuckers always talking about $850. Like, hey, you got to get this done, this done, this done, this done. How does 850 sound? $850? Yeah, doesn't sound like, nah, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, we can do this. We can take this off. We can move this around. How does 630 sound? I'm like, 630? Nah, just rotate my tires, change my oil. Hey, if you don't get this done, you're going to have problems down the road. So we suggest that. And I just got tired of dealing with that. Like, every time you go in to take your car, like, I just got tired of dealing with that, man. You know, it's like, always, like you already have to go in and make time to go in. Then when you make time to go in, you got to wait. And then when you wait, they try to squeeze money out of you. And then when you don't give them the money they want, they make you feel like you're destroying your car in the process. And then, I just got tired of that, man. See what I'm saying? So I was like, what car, what car what car fits that for the criteria or the requirements that I want in the car, or for the functionality that I want in the car, what car serves that option the best, right? So here we are. This is my current car. I own a 2023 Tesla Model 3, you know? Um, and I've had no issues with my car from a functionality perspective, man. Like, it's a good feeling knowing that if I have enough charge in my car, and if I parked it somewhere where I'm not comfortable parking it at, I can just cut on the Sentry mode and I get footage from 6 cameras around my car about what's going on around my car. So I get peace of mind, you know what I mean? Like, if someone decides that they want to run into my shit and smash into my shit, I don't gotta call no insurance. I don't gotta call their insurance. I gotta call my insurance, but I don't have to call their insurance. I don't gotta do none of that. Well, first, I mean, you're supposed to get their information for legal purposes. So yeah, you get all that, but if for whatever reason, if their insurance don't work, I can I don't even need a lawyer, to be honest. I could just go down to small claims and file the small claims on the joint and show them the video footage, or you show them the hard drive, show them the video footage of what happened. And the judge is gonna be like, yeah, you gotta pay up. So that's a good feeling, just having that peace of mind, knowing that I have the whole story on a hard drive with what happened in my car. Um Also, um, what else, man? Car's reliable, never had issue with the joint. Like you don't even start it. It's kind of like it kind of does its own thing. You just get in and go. You know. The one thing I do know is that you got to replace tires on the joint, and tires can be expensive. But other than that, I mean, I talked to someone that owns a Tesla. They somehow messed up their mirror, and they said it's like 1,500 to get the mirror replaced, which I understand, because it's like it folds in. There's like a lot of electronics involved with that, so I get that. But other than that, man, it's like, I've had no issues with this car whatsoever. Like, it serves my needs. I don't mind going to the charging station to charge up, you know. Matter of fact, I get to sit down. I get 30 minutes to myself to kind of go through my checklist for the day, plan the rest of my day out, you know. Real, like I said, I'm real happy with like my purchase. But we got Elon, the CEO of Tesla, and he's doing too much, man. Doing Nazi salutes, what else, man? Co-signing Ben Shapiro and his foolishness, just driving the stock down, just staining the brand of the car. So my thing is everyone, you got people on this movement where they're trading their Teslas in, or they're trying to like, you know, um, boycott Tesla and all this, that, and the third. And I get it. But I'm in between a rock and a hard place. My thing is the cars I've had in the past, like I said, my if no one smashed up my Toyota Camry, I still be driving my Camry right now. And I wouldn't even be doing a video on this. Um, or I wouldn't even have a Tesla right now. I'm not a Tesla fan. Like I'm not a fanboy of Tesla, but when I looked at the requirements for what I need for a car, it just fits. It just works. It fits my lifestyle. So um if another EV came around and offered the same functionality with the same affordability and supercharging stations, I trade my car in a heartbeat. You know what I'm saying? But the problem is when you look at a lot of these EVs on the market, they're basically in the stage where Tesla was a few years back. Like they're in the stages where they're just kind of being introduced to the market. Therefore, starting prices for some of these cars is like 80,000. I'm not spending 80,000 on a fucking car. I can tell you that right now. You know, um, and then you know with the EV, you can kind of get away from routine maintenance. So all the fluids and all that shit you don't got, man. I'm done with that lifestyle, man. So EV to me is the way to go. No complaints on my end. So my hope is, I'm hoping that another billionaire comes around and buys Tesla, and they kind of just quiet everything, before the brand gets stained anymore, and they just kind of keep it at where it's at, and over time, hopefully it can pick up again, you know. Or I hope that the board members vote him out, but they're probably not going to, because he put them there strategically for a reason, so he could kind of manipulate them. That's my interpretation, at least. It's all hearsay. Um, so or if there's another EV company that comes out and they make their EVs more affordable to the everyday market, and they have like supercharging stations and offer the same type of service and everything that Tesla had, I'll definitely trade my joint in. But right now that don't exist. Or we not there yet. So I'm holding on to my car. I'm not a fan, but I'm holding on to my shit because I can't be I can't be in a situation where I'm driving something that I don't want to drive, that I gotta go and like end of the day, I don't want to go backwards when it comes to my vehicles. I don't want to go back to driving. I don't want to go back to a Camry. Not saying it's bad, but I don't have that camera security that I want. You know, I don't want to go back to damn sure don't want to go back to no damn Chevy, because I don't want my shit being in the shop every other fucking week. You know, um, don't want to go to no Buick because I don't want to have to spend an arm and a leg just to change a light bulb, or to change a light, because their parts, it's hard to get to certain parts in their car, to fix certain things. And really, hopefully, like I said, I don't know, but hopefully Buick is now using LEDs as opposed to um halogen bulbs for the headlights, man, because that to me is terrible. Here it is. If you get LEDs pretty much last for the length of the vehicle, right? Whereas like a light bulb or a halogen bulb or whatever, them joints, man, they go out every couple like years, you know what I mean? So anywho, um, yeah. What are your thoughts? I know I've been long-winded, but I just was kind of telling you stories about my car and my experience or whatever. Um, like I said, I'm in a situation, man. The car meets all my functional needs, but the CEO is just messing up, man. Like I like my CEOs to be quiet, man. Just run the business and but he's trying to run the whole world, man, and just doing too much, man. So it just sucks, you know. But it is what it is, you know. Um, yeah, what are your thoughts, man? Put them in the comment section below. AT is where it's at on most forms of social media. Make sure you follow me. Um, yeah, I might now. I feel like this episode, like I said, I feel like it was kind of long winded. I almost feel like what I want to do is go back and go car by car per episode. But this is kind of overview. It's under 90 minutes. Is what it is. Um, so yeah, we done. AT is where it's at, most forms of social media. Without further ado, I'm out of here, folks. Peace. Yep. Trippin with Theobold.
Let's go.
Caliente.
Trippin. Yep. Trippin. Trippin. Trippin with Theobold.
Trippin with Theobold.